This is my review on Captain Marvel. I give it 0 out of 10 for being, you know, that's the thing. I'm not really sure what's the point of this movie. I'm not even sure the filmmakers know what the point of making this movie was. Because it wasn't to entertain people. When you're watching a bad movie when the best part about the movie is the end credits, telling more cohesive narrative and character development when it comes to the end credits of coming after the movie. There are pretty much only 2 films I know that can do that good job making end credits, but do that poor job of telling a coherent narrative for a movie compared to the end credits. It is this movie and 2010's The Last Airbender movie. That comes to mind. So instead of the Kree being who's it for? Definitely not comic book readers. Because oh boy, this movie really will test your patience, and you're wondering will the movie start get going. Oh yeah, it does. Once Carol Danvers breaks free from control from the system of the Kree, and then she unlocks her overpowered potential for her powers and with her full control. And that's when the movie starts to feel like Spike picks up, but by then the damage is done. I feel like once the movie starts to pick up and show potential, is by that point too much damage is done to the movie. Because the third act of the movie, everything that happens in the third act after Carol Danvers breaks free from the control of the Kree and the Kree leader. And can use her full range of her powers. Once she can use her full range of powers without having them shit off on her by the Creed, that's when the film starts to, pick up its pace and starts being a bit fun. But, it's like by then it's like there's no point in watching the movie anymore. I felt it's like there's too much damage is done, so and we find out how Fury lost his eye from the man from the someone that betrayed him, that took his eye. As he said one time in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, last time he trusted someone, he lost his eye. From an alien cat scratching him. Yes, we found that out in this movie that's the reason. So, Nick Fury's not really a shady person. This Fury is someone that's completely full of shit. And will just lie to make himself look cool. Oh, that's a little lame. Whole lot of lame. So, and this is a prequel Nick Fury before the MCU. Nick Fury comes into the MCU before Iron Man. So this is the first appearance of Nick Fury in the MCU because this is a prequel to the MCU's Nick Fury events. So you're just taking all that stories that like about him being you always take, so it's kind of sad because now we're going to, whenever you go back to watching the first Avengers movie or Captain America Winter Soldier, you just like it's going to dawn on you every time, no matter how much you enjoy it, from like going into this this, because it's always going to dawn on you that Nick Fury's not a badass. He's just delusional and thinking he's a badass. Because he'll just lie and put delusions in people's head to make them think that he's a badass, or say he's a hardcore badass. When really, he's kind of a wuss. And idiot wuss. Because he literally lied just to make himself feel cooler. So other people will see him cooler so he could get respect of how he lost his eye. Well, that's a little depressing, huh? And if you thought that was depressing, we found out how the word Avengers got named. The Avengers Initiative became a thing. How he came with the name. Because he looked at a picture of the plane name of Carol Danvers was flying before the crash. Of how she got her powers. It's called the Avengers. It's called Avengers. Her plane was called. So he decides to call that the Avengers Initiative. And okay. That's how it came with the Avengers Initiative. So, much like the title of the Avengers, much like Nick Fury himself, has become one butt of a joke. Like this movie. Well, I'm all depressed and shit. So, and that's how the Avengers name got the name in the MCU. Not through someone on S.H.I.E.L.D. came up with it, or the government came up with it, or the Avengers come up with it, like in the comics. Or like the government or S.H.I.E.L.D. might have came up with it. And so instead of the government or came up with, or the S.H.I.E.L.D. came up with, so it's like in the Ultimate Comics, or the Avengers come up with themselves, like in the comics of the classic comics universe. What's in their universe of the classic comics? We got the stupidest decision in answer of how the Avengers got the name Avengers. Eat your heart out, M. Night Shyamalan. You thought you could make stupid plot twists? Well, you're nothing compared to Captain Marvel's plot twists. Take notes on how to make up the worst plot twist in history, M. Night Shyamalan, by this movie's standards. And for some reason, they decided to gender change the original Captain Marvel character, known as Marvel. I mean, from the comics. Instead of making him a man, they decide to make him an old, crippled old lady, for some reason. A female old lady. Why? Because they can legally do that. It's not really explained, because saying that Marvel doesn't get a whole lot of character development or screen time. On screen. So, really, what's the point of changing the gender if you're not even bothered to develop the characters? You might as well just came up with the, you might as well just make Marvel the original gender he is in the comics. Instead of gender changing him for some reason. It's like, you have okay, maybe I would be okay with it if Marvel did something, heroic, or was more developed, or heck, anything. Because I'm not giving I don't, you're not going to care about Marvel unless you know the comics. If this version of Marvel, and the only reason why at least that's what I would say, if they kept the same gender that he is in the comics, instead of changing a he to a she, for some reason, because the writers decided to wipe their ass with the script, and say, fuck it. And just like that, that was how it was executed and what we got stuck with. Brie Larson does a good job as anyone does in this film, considering how very little she speaks in the movie. And that she's allowed to. It doesn't really speak that much until the third act. Actually, she goes full Super Saiyan on every Creed warrior, including the Creed leader. So before that, she just doesn't really speak, and it's kind of a snore fest. And it's so... So, I mean, I like to be optimistic, saying maybe Marvel could have worked, despite, counting two Captain Marvels in the movie. I would like to think that putting Marvel in the MCU could have worked, despite changing the gender, because maybe if she wore her superhero costume and, the superhero stuff made her care about it, maybe they could have pulled it off in a way. I mean, I didn't totally hate Ajax by the time I was over with Internals movie, even though they did the same exact thing of Ajax gender changed Ajax from a man to a girl for the Internals movie for some reason. But, maybe because that didn't bother me as much because, it made me, care about that version of Ajax, the movie, by the time the movie, after I watched the movie. Thank God it was the movie of Internals. So, and I did like Commissioner Gordon Lieutenant Gordon and the Batman, even though they changed his color and, changed his race, and color changed him from being white from black. Probably because he put effort in making me like that Gordon. The writing did. It's come to my attention that DC might be bad when it comes to gender changing or changing the race of comic book characters. Marvel is the only one that makes it seem awkward, I think. Because DC and The Boys show, The Boys, season 2 of The Boys, did change the gender of one of the comic book characters. Now, in season 2 of The Boys, where in the comics, season 2 of The Boys who watch the show knows the show, that the female was a Nazi in the show The Boys. Well, in the comics, she is actually a he, and meant to be a twisted version of the Shazam character that used to go by the name Captain Marvel from DC Comics, Billy Batson. Except the only difference is is everything else that he the thing that he gets he has in common with Billy Batson is is the concept that he is a child that can transform into a grown-ass person with superpowers. And other than that, that's everything else is that person is not seen in the comics. Works with Nazis in the comics and a bit of a shithead. The one in the show of season 2 of Boys. So, yet I didn't mind her when they gender changed her because I feel like, it was The Boys in season 2, from what I see of season 2, when they gender changed that character, changed that character's gender from the comics, I probably didn't mind it because I feel like they were trying to develop her and doing the best to make you hate her. It's like I feel like that was well executed because the acting was good, the writing was good, and the execution was good because despite they changed the gender of that character, similar to the Ajax from Eternals, or similar to changing Gordon's race from being a white guy to a black guy. It just felt genuine. Like they wanted to give you the best representation of the characters besides everything they changed from the character's gender or the character's race. And I feel like Marvel did this for at least Marvel